Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. Thank you for joining us to our last series part, Installation Artist Talk with Hibernian Hall. We have a lovely guest for you tonight. But before we do that, I would like to introduce our moderator, Harris Lefteri. If you do know her, and if you don't know her, you'll get to know her right now. Harris Lefteri is an award winning theater director, acting coach, and playwright. Since graduating from Boston College with a degree in theater arts, Harris has directed over 25 plays and short films and has coached over 75 actors in the field. She is currently a trustee of Hoover Players in Waltham and a board member of Hibernian Hall in Boston. In 2019, she was nominated the Best Director Dash Award. Through her work, Harris' goal is to promote diversity and inclusion as well as to focus on art as an educational tool. So please welcome Ms. Harris Leftera.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Tonight is our final part of the three-part Creative Circle Series panel. And we are here tonight because Madison Park Development is celebrating its 55th anniversary. And what best way to honor Hibernian Hall than to invite some amazing, very intellectual and hardworking individuals who have made and continue to make a huge impact in the fields of the arts, social justice, and community in general. Our guests tonight are Ms. Darlene Smart. Darlene Smart is the creator of A Good Piece of Glass, which involves the craft of etching images, designs, logos, and motifs on glass and mirror. She's a self-taught glass artist with 30 years of experience. Darlene specializes in stained glass items and windows. She has always had a love for glass and the unique way that it forms prisms and images by reflections. She's proud of the commissioned custom orders and awards that she creates annually for organizations like Discover Roxbury's Pudding Stone Award, Madison Park Development Corporation, Concerned Black Men Awards, Northeastern University, and RLHTI.org. Darlene is the deeply committed coordinator of Roxbury Open Studios, supporting Roxbury artists, and an active member of the Hibernian Hall Advisory. We are grateful for her work on behalf of artists and the Roxbury community, providing beauty and artistry in all she does. Our next guest is Ms. Jacqui Parker. Jacqui Parker is an actor, director, and playwright. She's an Elliot Norton Award winner, a 7-time winner of the Independent Reviewers of New England Award, the Dralongso Award, and the 2016 Community Catalyst Award from Madison Park Development Corporation. Previously, she was a visiting playwright at Hibernian Hall from 2016 to 2017. As an actor, she has worked on stages across the country for the last 20 years, playing roles including Rose in Fences, Caroline in Caroline or Change, Billie Holiday in Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, Dr. Bessie Delany in Having Our Say, Elizabeth in Old Settler, along with several roles in productions with the Commonwealth Shakespeare Company. She currently serves as the artistic director for Our Plays Theater Project, where she has been teaching acting and playwriting since 1998. At Our Place Theater, she founded the African American Theater Festival and has worked with hundreds of new and emerging playwrights, actors, and directors to develop and produce their work on the stages of Boston. For 3 years, she served on the I Dream team at Emerson College, teaching youth how to write their stories. Her directing credits include over 30 plays at Our Place Theater, Emerson College, Brandeis University, Harvard University, the Boston Conservatory, Boston Center for the Arts, and the Calderwood Pavilion. Welcome, Jacqui and Darlene. And before we begin tonight, I would like to let our audience know that we will reserve the last 10 or 15 minutes or so to open it up for questions or anybody who wants to share any experiences, stories, anything like that. But, welcome to both of you. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. Lovely introduction. Hi, Darlene.
Hello, Jackie. Thank you
Always
very much for the introduction, Harris.
Thank
Always happy
you.
to see you.
Thank you for taking the time to be here with us tonight. I wanted to start by asking you a little bit about your history with Hibernian Hall and your affiliation with it. And either Jack, if you would like to, you can start if you want.
Sure. Well, my history goes way back, actually. When Hibernian Hall first started having talks about theater being performed in the ballroom. At that time, Candelaria Silver was the artistic director or executive director. And she was doing new works, which is always a blessing for new playwrights to come out there and get their work done. And she did this amazing thing where she connected new writers with brilliant playwrights like Ed Willens. And well, I got to work on the Ed Willens piece. They were students of Ed Willens. And I did a Lewis Johnson play. I did several plays, so I don't want to miss anybody. But so that was my first experience. We had stage readings of their work, their, short plays. And oh man, I met so many amazing playwrights through that program. Mary McCullough, I believe, was there as well. And it took off from there. But yeah, this was a while ago when that ballroom first opened up and I walked in. It was a beautiful space. I thought of weddings, I thought of all of that, and then I looked up and I saw lights. Then I looked behind and I saw black platforms and a masonite floor, and I was like, oh, they're going to include theater, and I just thought it was brilliant. So yeah.
Thank you, Jacqui.
Now, my first experience as a playwright, if that's what you're asking, as a playwright in 2016-17, Dylan Buston called me in and said, we want you to be the visiting playwright, which was an honor. I can walk to Hibernian Hall. I don't think people understand what that's like, to live in a community and to be able to serve as an artist in that community with the same quality that you would if you were in the South End or the theater district. And I wrote 5 plays, and Hibernian Hall produced them, and it was a magical experience. Magical. One night I saw snow coming in the window of my play, not outside. This was something, I also directed the play. So there was snow coming. I just wanted to cry. I might have shed a tear or two. On the stage, on the set, snow was lightly falling in the window. Yeah. So that was the kind of commitment that Hibernian Hall and the staff, and at that time, Ola, was rolling up her sleeves just like me. I'm not afraid to do work. And we were putting stages together and audience platforms together, painting, whatever was needed. Everybody was all in. Mm-hmm. So it really does take a village to make a play, but you know that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jacqui. What about you, Darlene?
Well, my experience with Hibernian Hall is having Roxbury Open Studios. That ballroom is such a great space. We had so many artists in there, and just to see the work of the people in the community. And as we came together and had the camaraderie, and then the residents of the community coming in, but then also attending the plays and the parties at Hibernian Hall. It was really something special,
Yeah. And I know you both mentioned community, which is very interesting, because I guess my next question would be, what has made Roxbury a cultural district? Because besides Hibernian Hall, you look around it and there's so much more art and culture and community. And in your experiences, what do you think that is? Darlene, if you'd like to start.
Well, I would have to say there's a lot of artists, well-known artists that come from the Roxbury area, and also jazz people, jazz musicians, and there's a lot of events that have happened within the Roxbury community, even before like Madison Park started, but just things I can remember as growing up, you know, different events that happened. And, you know, why not be a cultural district? Yeah.
Thank you, Darlene. Jacqui, you're on mute. That's fine. I do it all the time. Totally
Right.
fine.
The foundation has already been here. Like even prior to this starting tonight, this panel, outside my window, I hear, like even right now, you hear cars driving by and you hear some hip hop, then you hear some rap, then you hear classical, then you hear like some Latin music. And that feeling that those cultures, that people of color are living in this community and they've been here, because art doesn't stop. The thing is when do people recognize that there's a need for it, and there are several spaces and places where our work can get done. I loved Open Studios, Darlene. I didn't know that you were a part of starting that, but I would go in there and I could get anything from jewelry to creative boxes to beautiful glassware, and just so there are so many artists that still don't know each other. That's one of the reasons we need to have a cultural district. And I think Daniel Callanan being a part of leading that charge is gonna really pull us together in a different way. So I'm thrilled about that.
That's very exciting. And Darlene, I was going to ask you, can you tell us a little bit more about Open Studios? And how similar is it to what I have in the last panel, we spoke about the black market area around Hibernian Hall. Is that similar? You're on mute. So Darlene, you're on mute, sorry.
I'm sorry. It's similar, but Roxbury Open Studios started in 1999. And Candelaria Silva was the one who was instrumental in bringing that to Roxbury, because the other communities, they had open studios. So Candelaria started with Madison Park Development and started Roxbury Open Studios in Roxbury. And so we just celebrated our 20th anniversary in 2000. I'm getting the years mixed up, but we just celebrated 20 years. And so the difference between that and Black Market, although Black Market does give entrepreneurs and artists opportunities, Roxbury Open Studios is basically for artists and artisans, makers. So you really have to be able to make your stuff in order to participate in the open studios. And so, you know, there are some artists who would open up their own studios and people would come to their studios and actually see the work that's being made in their studios. And then we would have group settings and you'd have a bunch of artists in one place. So, yeah.
And speaking of that, we will come back to that because I see some amazing glass artwork right behind you. So I think we should explore that. But Jacqui, I wanted to talk to you about, you know, I mean, you have directed, you're a director, you're a writer, you are an actor, you're an activist, you're an educator, and you have done a lot of that in Hibernian Hall and outside of Hibernian Hall. What has been your experience as a director at a space such as Hibernian Hall? Because it's a big space and it can be tough to navigate at times. And maybe you can take us through a memory of two of experiences as a director or even as an actor, actually, because having to project in a space like that can also be tough.
Well, I haven't I don't think I've acted there.
Okay.
Mostly directed. And I love that challenge because I realized, oh man, this is going to be a challenge. I need to have this audience connect to my plays or any play. And I reconfigured. I drove people crazy, but I also know you have to ask for the things that are going to get the best quality of a performance. An actor being way across the room is not going to help all that lovely work the actors are doing if they can't hear you. And also, so what I did basically was I created a space where the audience was very close to the actors. So I reconfigured the platforms so that the audience was pushed way upstage. Oh, I should say, and then I would push the actors downstage, so that I'd have these configurations that appeared to be a small, intimate theater, and people really appreciated that because that space can be overwhelming. And then the way we lit it, and as a director, the way you light something is crucial. So they were there, they were in it. And the audience, is that other character in the room. We need them. And so, yeah, I just reconfigured everything. And I loved that challenge.
Yeah. You've created a more intimate space. I love that within
Did.
Hibernian Hall. I think that's just amazing. And how long were usually your rehearsals?
Like most theater companies, you're always struggling with how long you can rehearse. We never had more than, well, okay, so there were two things that were done at Hibernian Hall that was cool. Coming in as a playwright, I said, I'm going to need workshop time, and then I need rehearsal and performance time. So that was lovely. We were allowed to do that so we could explore and really play with the language, what the movement was going to be, what the vision, the ultimate vision was going to be. And that would take a couple of weeks. And then we never rehearsed more than 3 weeks. And then it's tech and you're up and you do all that work for perhaps 2 weekends. But it was worth it to me. I mean, just seeing your work evolve and turn into something. I'm that person who has produced at this point over 40 plays for other people. Much easier for me to do someone else's work than my own for some reason. But so it was a special time and a special learning experience and a lot of great rewards. One of the plays was nominated for Best New Play. So that was something cool.
Wow. Thank you, Jacqui.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Darlene, let's talk about your inspiration with glass art. I mean, me being one of those people, I'm sure a lot of us don't know enough about it. I told you I've only taken like one glass blowing class and I thought it was just fascinating. But can you take us through the process of, creating something like what some of the artwork you have behind you?
Okay, so what I do is, what I actually do is I sandblast on glass. So I choose a design and then I make the mask. Some of them, this one was hand cut out of vinyl, and some of my other ones are created through the computer. And I will, make a mask and then put it on the glass. And then I take it and I put it in a big cabinet and I sandblast. So for somebody who can't visualize it, just think about using a spray paint. You're spray painting something and you just go over and over the design until you get the actual depth that you want and make sure that your whole area is covered. But I just like making stuff. And with my awards that I make, I've done a bunch of awards for Hibernian Hall. The Catalyst Award, I know you can't see it that great, I'm sorry. But I generate all of that from a computer, I set it up, make sure everything is lined up, things where it's supposed to be, check the spelling, and same process. So you have to cover the whole piece that you're working on so that the spray does not get on anything else. And yeah, I love working with glass. I love to, as I'm blasting it in the cabinet, I like to see the grit actually eat away the surface of the glass, and now it forms the image that you want and to create it. So I enjoy it.
And even when you describe it, you have this like smile on your face. So it's just like, I love it. How long does the process usually take from beginning to end?
I've had some rush orders that I've had to do in a day. Okay. So, you know, it's making the mass process. You have to expose it like you're gonna, I guess, expose a photograph, because you have to expose it to ultraviolet light, and then you have to pressure wash the film itself, let it dry, then you put it on your substance. So I technically could make a piece in an hour. I can rush it by blow drying the mask. Wow. But, you know, as long as I have everything going, you know, it takes a while. But if I rush and I have nothing else going on, I could do it in an hour. But I just love doing it, you know, and just choosing the glass, making sure that the design that you want is going to look good on what you're choosing, and that it complement, each piece complements each other, the design and the glass. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. It's fascinating. Thank you, Darlene.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jacqui, I wanted to ask you about one of your plays that you wrote, and you've written a lot of them, and I was reading about them, but one that struck me was the play A Crack in the Blue Wall.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know, for anyone who might not know, it's about a young Black man who was shot by a white police officer, and it's also about relationships and the family. And can you take us a little bit through the process of writing that play, and when did you write it, and what pushed you to write the play?
Yeah. Well, what pushed me was the killing of all these Black men by police officers. You know, we march in our different ways, right? And we respond in our different ways. I had to do something. And at that time, and throughout history, if we're really going to be honest, but at that time in my life, it was overwhelming, and still is, the number of Black men that were still being not just profiled, but shot and killed dead, and just nothing really being done about it. But at the same time, I'm about conversations that work towards healing without being didactic. You know, I try to create a real family, real problems that people would come up with. But there's also, believe it or not, in a subject matter that deep, a level of humor. I laugh at a lot of things in life. I need to laugh to survive. But I also need to deal with the real nitty gritty of things. And so I thought, you know, we need to talk about families that don't think they're at risk. And that was the middle class Black family whose children go to private schools and different things. And they're doing everything they can to make sure that they're taking some of the risk factors away, you know. And I thought, if this kid who goes to Harvard, who is the shiny star of his family, is taken out, what happens? How do they pull the family back together? And I also, this was extremely crucial to me. I know a lot of police officers. And some of these people I trust, and I've been able to call for programs where there was violence outside and I needed my kids to get home safely from the program. We just don't want to hear all of that and see all, at that time, drugs were really just rolling in and heavy, and I couldn't even send, the summer kids to a playground without young girls, without men and women hitting on them and just saying repulsive things. So I was seeing police officers who were doing good things, but I was not going to let the system be put to get off because of that. So I really put the system, the crack in the blue wall is that crack that needs to happen so that the wall isn't so thick that you can't tell the truth anymore. So many people have lost their jobs because they stood up, not even stood up or believed in, the police that they happened to be with when they committed these crimes. And sometimes you gotta say something. It doesn't make you a snitch, it makes you smart. And so it was the relationship between a Black and a white cop that was so beautiful. And everyone was talking to me about it. There was tension. And these guys were best friends, but it was a difficult time. So it's really about relationships and how you hold yourself together in the midst of the most devastating thing that could happen in your life, the losing of a child. So, and we were nominated for an award for that play. I was extremely proud of it. My actors were kick-ass. Shout out to Derek Jackson, who's in LA now, whoop, whoop, and everybody else, Abria, all of them. They made it happen. And as you know, the stage manager is your right-hand person. So Valencia Hughes Imani was on top of it. So yeah, it was about answering in my way, my artist way, some of the frustration. And it still continues.
Yes, I was going to say, when did you write the play?
2016.
2016, yeah. Crack on the Blue, always saying Crack on the Blue was a phenomenal piece and still relevant now. Exactly. And what I like the most about reading about the play was the fact that, and you mentioned it wasn't just written to, just to throw information at you, but it was just more of an unraveling of a relationship and the people who are left behind. And I guess my question is, and that I will pose that to both of you as artists, looking at theater and plays nowadays and the way they highlight the African American experience. Do you think that they do it justice? Do you think that theater and plays nowadays highlight the African American experience on a good light, or do you think that there should be more that can be done through, I'd say our work, but mainly plays and performances? And either of you can answer that. Jacqui, if you'd like to answer.
And I would love, after I answer Darlene, I would love for you to weigh in. You see a lot of theater, so you know what's going on, Darlene, in this community as well. There are times when I see beautiful work on stage that moves me in Black theater. Sometimes you need to laugh. So I think I saw Quiet Boy last year, and it was very funny and very talented, and they were very gifted. At the same time, there was an issue of rape in that play, and I wanted more from that aspect that people don't talk about. I like to see more plays like that because I know so many men who have shared with me that when they were children, they were molested. Now, I get these topics or things, people don't want to say, oh, I'm going to a play tonight to see about somebody being molested or the, sex trade or whatever. But there are playwrights who have the ability to talk about the issue, but then make it human and humanize rather than demonize some of these characters so that we're able to function after the play. And I wanted the depth of that to be a little bit more because he went back to clowning like right after that. And I also understood that sometimes that is your defense mechanism. That is how you survive. So I get that. You don't let them win by being a constant victim. But in that moment, you need to take your moment and know that you were a victim and you overcame that victimization and are somebody stronger. And then I saw a play. I won't say the name of it, but I will say this. I was very excited when I walked into the theater and saw the configuration. It was something that I had never seen before. It wasn't at Hibernian Hall. And I tell you, they used the N-word. The whole language should have just been the N-word, because after a while they used it so much that all the people that came with me, we no longer could hear or cared what the play was about. It was just too much. And I understand that in Black culture, a lot of brothers still use it, not like that. It was offensive to me. But then there are things like the Invisible Man and things like still relevant, just so many classic plays that we still use. A Raisin in the Sun is still brilliant. It's still about a man having hope and can somebody please give a brother a chance? And a mother does, We don't know what happened, but we know she gave him the chance and that more men need that chance or opportunity. So I love, love, love theater, but I want to see more. Mm-hmm. I want to see more stories about women that I know or women that I can celebrate, and more people of color, like not just the Black experience, but I'm interested in seeing theater crossing the divides of race. Yeah.
Thank you, Jacqui. Thank you. And what about you, Darlene?
Well, I have to say that I agree a lot of what Jacqui was saying, and I also appreciate the fact that it's making it accessible to the people in the community. Some people who never have the opportunity to go other places within Boston or wherever to see a play, they can come right here in their backyard. And it is a diverse crowd. Some of the plays are diverse, so it opens up people's eyes to what's going on out there, and to just let them know that, yes, there's more to that world around the community. And you can even, some of the plays, you can even like travel through to another experience. So that's why I enjoy going to the plays. It's more to life than just, going to work and coming home and, walking down Dudley Street or whatever, but there's things that will give you hope and inspiration. And that's why I enjoy, going to Hibernian Hall and seeing the plays. I go to plays other places too, but again, it's community. It's for community. That's what I really appreciate.
It's true. Oh, Jacqui, you're on mute.
I also want to say, like, plays in terms of social issues, like tomorrow night, playwright Mary McCullough, who is a visiting playwright with you all right now, is going to be featured to talk about her work. But one of my favorite plays of directing was a play that she wrote called Sorry, Don't Fix It. And it was about the social service system and how it goes into homes and it can destroy your home based on something your child might have said out of anger or whatever, destroy and rip apart families. I've seen that happen. So we needed that play, which had young people in it. It was cross-generational. So I love that idea. And I remember that was developed at Hibernian Hall, I believe, as a part of the program I was talking about with Candelaria. I hope I'm right on that. But anyways, yes, I had to say that.
Oh, that's very interesting. Sorry, don't fix it. I'll make a note of that. Okay. Darlene, I wanted to ask you, because I know we spoke briefly before the panel started. Would you like to take us on a little, and I guess I should have asked earlier, so I apologize, but would you like to take us on a little tour of your showroom? Maybe I know you showed us one part of it. But would you like, just if you'd like to show us around.
I hope you can see it. The lighting is not that good, but I don't know. It's hard to tell if you're seeing good pictures. How's that?
It's pretty good. I can see some of it. I don't know, Jacqui.
Over here. So when my clients come over, they're looking for items. They're walking to my showroom. You place an order, you come in, and people get to see more than what they're ordering. And they're like, wow, I didn't know you did that, So that's why I keep the showroom set up, so yeah. And
it's lovely.
Thank you.
I wanted to also ask you, and I will ask Jacqui, I will also ask you afterwards, how has COVID impacted your, because I know you get people come into your studio, or, how has that changed?
Well, for me, I still get custom orders, but it's like for the organizations and for organizations and people who would order like wedding things, because those things are not happening, I'm not getting that business. But I still got quite a few custom orders, so I'm doing okay.
Doing good. That's good. What about you, Jacqui? I know that for theater, it can be, I mean, you tell me what you think of Zoom, but it can be a little tricky. But what has your experience been?
Well, Zoom is certainly not theater, so we can get that out of there. It's hard. I love the smell of the theater. I love just the entire process. I was always one of those. So if I'm acting, I'm one of those actors who absolutely loves tech, those 12 out of 10 days. And I can't wait. I'm not going to complain a moment of a second of an inch. And if I even hear an actor complaining about being in a theater, oh, it's been such a long day, I'm going to say, you remember the COVID? You remember the COVID? You remember when? I think when I walk into a theater, I am going to bow down on that floor and kiss it, and then, use some hand sanitizer and lip sanitizer. But I think, one of the great things that I have been able to do during this COVID is write more. Not as much as I want to, because for some reason it stifles me. I'm one of those people that has had like just weird dreams and all those things, because your life has changed, your world has changed. And at the same time, I'm still talking to people who are out there doing incredible things, like Stacey Borden, who's just fighting so hard for women who are incarcerated to have a home to come to have resources and to be able to function in society. And I feel a responsibility to that now. I feel a responsibility to write a play that is really about prison reform, but it's really about people reform, because we have to change the dialogue and the language and the way that the system is working right now. So that's a play that I'm doing research on and really want to do it justice, because I think it's extremely important that we have a place in this community for people who are trying to do better, you know? But yeah, the COVID keeps me still sometimes, and I fight through it. Today I had to get up early, go buy some flowers. They always make me feel good. They make me feel like spring since the sun has decided to hide its face for a couple of days. And that made me feel that was all the difference I needed. So just finding new ways to cope. But I am writing, and some good things are coming out of this, good ideas and other ways to meet with people, you know.
Good, because I was going to ask, what are some future projects that we should be looking forward to for both you and Darlene?
I worked on an audio play at the Huntington Theater Company. We're still have a lot of work to do with it, but it was just fun being asked to, first of all, write the play and then working with, you know, Lovely Hoffman and Ramona Alexandra, you know, and Summer Williams, and just all the people at the Huntington who are always so giving and kind and humble. And we'll see what happens. And I'll let you all know if it gets produced and becomes a part of the series. But it was a blast. I wrote something that came out absolutely hilarious. And it wasn't how I started, but I was laughing out loud as I was writing. So that's always a good sign. And the play that I just told you about. And other, you know, projects. I still work with my actors and writers and playwrights, new emerging playwrights. So I'm excited about all of that.
There's a lot of good things happening. What about you, Darlene?
Well, it's really hard because in trying to put an event together, you know, if we can only have so many people and participants,
right,
it's hard to try to navigate through something like that. So hopefully, I'm thinking maybe if we could do something outdoors this summer, you know, that's just hopefully, if the people do right and keep the numbers down, you know, that's something I've been thinking about trying to do. Yeah.
And is Open Studio still taking place, or has it paused?
No, we didn't have any open studios because again, you can only have so many people.
Right.
And if you have 30 plus artists,
Right.
then, you know, you can't have a lot of people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And then also some people might not feel comfortable with just everybody touching their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so
Makes
there's a lot of things to think about when it comes to, you know, trying to produce something like that, especially if the numbers are high. And then the artists being comfortable with people being around them. So.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I know that Kay Matthews has a question, since we're slowly opening up the chat to the audience to ask questions. Jacqui, can you tell us about the playwriting lab experience at a Hibernian Hall when COVID just started? Jacqui, you're on mute, and we definitely want to hear this.
So when Ola called to say, hey, are you interested in doing a playwriting lab? We were trying to figure out what we wanted it to be about. And at that time, the COVID wasn't in effect. So we were supposed to hit the ground running, doing an intergenerational thing. And then the COVID happened. And we had all these people submit, you know, an application. We picked 8 people out of I don't even know how many at this point in time. And we were ready to go. And then it was like, what are we going to do? I had not even heard of Zoom, let me just be clear, at that time. So I was like, I mean, we can't meet. But Ola knew a little something about Zoom. It was, you know, and we decided we would do it on Zoom. And I had to really think and adjust a lot of stuff. I'm a very hands-on director. We move, we do theater exercises, we do all these things that were not gonna work on Zoom. So the women's side, I just adjusted and we adapt. That's what we do. We keep adjusting and adapting. And I had the most fun with these women. They were ready to go and they came in talking and having great ideas and we wrote. I mean, they wrote, it ended up being 7. One's mom was very sick and she wasn't able to really obviously do the play. Her mother was in another country and very, very ill. But there were 7. I call them the Magnificent 8, and they're still the Magnificent 8 because this woman is an incredible artist. But we had 7 short plays with an audience. There was about 100 people that showed up, and they were all good and different. Some were funny, some were serious. We had a blast. We made it happen in a good way, though. Like, I didn't feel like we shortchanged anything.
Mhm.
And we got some great actors, and some of the playwrights read for other playwrights stories, and I was very proud of that work. Yeah.
How
Very
long was the process from beginning to opening?
So we spent the first, I would say it was about 4 to 6 weeks, but we spent the first week really devising and talking about what we wanted. What did they want to do? Did they want to write individual plays? Did they want to devise and create one big play and take on scenes? And so we figured for this environment, everyone would write their own individual plays. And then, you know, I talked to them about structure. I talked to them about research. I talked to them about sound design, everything that goes into writing a play. And even though it was a short play, we still needed all of those elements. We talked about character development, character development, character development. How do these two people from different generations that aren't getting the respect that they deserve come together in a really cool way? We talked about conflict in the play. What is the end result? What do you want the audience to be left with? But the most important thing for me was tell your truth. Write a story you want to. No matter what I say, no matter what advice I give, I will give you technical advice because some structure or action or movement in the play is not working. And then you need to figure out how to solve it, but still stay true to yourself. And they did. And they fought for the things that, you know, they felt were important to keep in the play. And so we had 7 plays that had heart and soul. And that's a hard thing to do. I was surprised. Usually you might have 1 or 2 shiny stars, but no. I enjoyed every single one of those plays and the process.
That sounds
And sometimes
amazing.
it was hard. I just want to say, some days it was hard. You know, I don't want to make it seem like everything was rosy, because it was hard for some people to be creative that week. Something might have went down, a loss, or someone was sick, or someone, you know, so just trying to stay motivated. And the women motivated each other and were a great support system, like a cast,
Mhm.
you know?
You know, we find ways to connect, I think, as artists, whether it's, I mean, in person or when situations bring us to Zoom, and we still find ways to get close to each other and connect. Darlene, Kay has a question for you. Kay Matthews is asking, Darlene, can you talk a little bit more about Roxbury Open Studios artists? What are the plans for the future for Roxbury Open Studios?
That's a tough one. I mean, I would hope that towards the end of the year, which we have open studios in the end of October, November, around there, that things will be back to where we can at least have an audience, you know, where the numbers can come up and they can say, okay, you can have 100 people in a gathering, you know. And so that's what holding us, is what's going to happen. We can't plan to put it on and get prepared, and then they say, okay, we got to shut it down, because it's hard to reverse that. It's hard to, you know, give the people back their money, and you know, it's just too much involved to try to plan ahead of time when we don't know. We've seen it, okay, things are good and now they're not good anymore. So it's a tough one. It's a tough decision. It's just to keep us to be in limbo like that is very discouraging, you know. But I really, you know, after missing last year, I'm really hoping that we can get back to having events and having people come and having the artists be able to show their wares.
And how many artists usually are part of the open studio?
Well, last year we had a record number because we were all in one space. So we had like 40 something artists. We did it at Marlena Cass, you know. We had a good turnout. All the artists like being together, because when you're in different locations, it's hard to see who else out there is an artist and what they have. So I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's definitely tough. It's difficult for you know, everybody. I think these are conversations that we've been having at the theater also. You know, do you want to start rehearsals on the stage, and then if something happens you have to just stop everything? You know, do you want to do it? What are our options, and how far can we go before something else happens? I mean, I think this past year and a half has been so unpredictable that you just like, I don't want to jump. I mean, I know that we have had to cancel and reschedule openings of shows like at least 3-4 times this past year and a half, and that just because, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen, and every day is something new. Lydia Polanco Pena is asking Darlene, do you have any plans for virtual art events?
To be honest with you, no, because the logistics of also doing that is too much for us to handle.
Yeah, makes sense, absolutely. And Valerie Fox is saying she watched all of the Magnificent Seven plays. It was an amazing experience. Special shout out to Darlene for her artistry.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Valerie.
Thank you.
Valerie's doing a lot of incredible stuff too for authors in the community. I have to point that out. I've been sending authors her way, and I just think that there's a lot going on in this community, people.
There is. It's absolutely true. And, you know, I think that we just, you know, every time I talk to somebody from Hibernian Hall, or even this past year, when a lot of theaters just kind of stopped, Hibernian Hall was still going. There were still events happening, whether it was live stream, whether it was pre-recorded, there was something happening, or even Zoom live. There's always something happening that just kept that fire for the arts going. And I think that's what makes it very special. So we are very close to being done for the night, which, you know, I think we always scratch the surface. I wanted, before I let you both go, I wanted to ask you, you have come this far in your careers and your lives, and you have so many experiences, amazing stories that I'm sure we only began to like scratch the surface. But what is an advice you would give to your younger self? And I'm sure a lot of us also would like to know. And Jacqui, if you'd like to start.
I think the biggest thing for me would be to promote your work more, to be a gangster for your work. I'm serious. And it is so much easier for me to promote someone else's work, to produce someone else's work. And I write these plays and I'll put them on the shelf and I'll say, okay, I got that out of my system. And I remember Maureen Shea, who's a theater professor at Emerson College, saying, Jacqui, I want to direct one of your plays. Your students should be doing your plays. I don't know what it is, but when it comes to my work, which I obviously believe in, or I would not do it, I'm always happy when it's up on the stage. And then there are times when I wrote stuff that was pure garbage, but it would be like 200 pages of pure, that was like a waste of like a couple of months. But I know when I have something, and I've often had something, but when I would get it produced, like A Crack in the Blue Wall, or one of my plays that was really well known and well received, and the Huntington, as a result of it, put me in their fellow program, playwriting fellow program, was Dark as a Thousand Midnights, the summer of Emmett Till's murder. And I produce it once and then I let it go. I don't shop it around. I don't do those things. I need to be about that because I'm a gangster for everybody else's work. And I need to fight for my work as well. When people see it, they're like, oh, okay. I showed a play to Gloucester and they were like, oh yeah, sure, we'll do this, So I don't know what it is, but I'm working on that. And that I would tell my younger self, believe in the work that you're doing and promote that work and get your work out there more so than I do.
Thank you, Jacqui.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
I have to agree with Jacqui. I always would tell myself I'm shy, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But when I hear, the compliments and, acclimates that other people are saying about my stuff, I need to walk in that, and I almost wasn't going to do this interview because I was basically scared. I'm not gonna say don't anymore, but I didn't like being on this type of platform, but I can do this. I know I can do this and I'm gonna continue to do this. That's all I have to say.
Lydia Polanco Peña says, thanks, Darlene, you're a great artist and Roxbury Open Studios leader. And I just want to thank you both. And I can completely understand it can be tough, especially just having all eyes on you. And it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But I am so glad we are here tonight and that you shared your stories with us. And I want to thank you for your time and for sharing everything that you shared. And like Ola says, share the power. She's absolutely right. Got to keep sharing and supporting each other. And I know tonight is the final panel of our 3-part series, and it has been amazing to just meet everybody and talk to everybody. And I would like to just close by saying that just a little food for thought. I think that this past year, but also just looking back into not just the history of Hibernian Hall, but also arts in general, but especially this past year and a half, it has shown us how fragile, but also how resilient art is and can be. And us as artists, how resilient we are and how we always find ways to adapt and adjust to every situation. And that's what I have learned, I would say, for myself and for everybody around me. And I think that, theater and the arts in general, I say theater because I guess that's where, I come from, but I know a lot of artists come from different backgrounds. But, you know, especially being a theater artist, you cannot really do it unless you are around other people, you know. You have to, you know, be around actors, have to be around your director, have, you know, and it can be tough. It can be tough when you are unable to do that. But one thing that I will say is that even though, you know, eventually we'll go back and we'll cherish it, and things will go back to normal, the most important thing is that we keep passing that flame to the next generation. You know, we just keep educating, we keep bringing young people to Hibernian Hall, to the community, to just the arts in general, and show them the beauty of the art through our perspective, but also through their perspective, just so they can understand it and fall in love with it the way we have. And I
Yeah.
just want to thank both of you so much today. And I want to thank our amazing guests and Ola for making this happen. And this has been just great. And I think, like I
Okay.
said earlier, we've only scratched the surface of how much history is behind Hibernian Hall and Roxbury in general, and each one of you. So thank you all so much for tonight.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thank-
You're awesome.
Thank you,
And
Jackie.
Harris, you did a fantastic job.
You
It was
did.
one, you made it easy.